So in the last year, a lot more has happened in Radius than probably the last since our inception in 2002. And everything that's happened, we didn't wake up and say, hey, let's focus on growing the company. It was more about the right people. And so with Robert Rockhouse, John Olgren, we ag and ranch and business services, a lot of crossover with our clients that own agricultural properties, have business that's fused with real estate. And so we came across these guys, we vetted them, well, we got to know them, I should say, for 6, 7, 8 months, and then finally decided this makes sense for our clients and it's better for our brand. And so that happened kind of organically. And then Bill and Linda Haglis, who are just really seasoned premier retail Ventura County based brokers, they didn't want to run the company anymore, and we have a really strong engine with marketing and with operations, and so we merged with them. And now for our clients again, we're better for it because now Ventura County's covered and we've got opportunity there that we can funnel to our clients. And I think the 3 things that have always been really important for Radius is our culture, preserving that, total integrity, and that everybody's really good at what they do. And so all these people that have joined our company check all those boxes. And so we're really excited. It's been a fun season.
Industrial vacancy still remains incredibly low. If you have a roll-up door on your property, that property is leased. So there tends to be incredible demand right now for industrial properties throughout each sector of our market: Goleta, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria. Another thing that hasn't changed over the last years, I think downtown Santa Barbara office vacancy remains tight. Last year around this time it was in low single-digit vacancy, and it still remains that way. On the sales side, a thing that's been the same for a number of years is just a strong appetite by investors in our market to purchase commercial property. There's a lot more people interested in buying Santa Barbara commercial real estate than there are in selling. So if property does come on the market and it's priced right, you can bet there's going to be strong activity around it. I think one of the things that we should keep an eye on in the coming years is we have seen some larger tenants in our marketplace, specifically out in Goleta, vacate the market. Case in point, Allergan, Mentor, Raytheon has started to cut back a little bit on their square footage needs. And we're also seeing Citrix put some of their buildings on the market for sublease. And I think that's something we definitely need to keep an eye on, because when you have larger tenants in your marketplace suddenly start to move out, you need to look for new tenants to come in and fill that void. Another thing I think that's worth keeping an eye out on is looking downtown, and that's at State Street Retail. I think in the past, State Street Retail has sort of been the bellwether for the strength of our retail market, and we've seen a bit of a flight maybe from traditional retail out to other areas in the marketplace, the Funk Zone, and areas maybe between State Street and Milpas, where smaller retailers are now choosing to locate. So I think it's important that if you're a landlord on State Street to maybe be mindful of that. And I think it's time to start thinking about pricing your properties accordingly, and maybe be focused on making the first deal that comes around, because if you don't, and you're starting to be in a position where you're making the 3rd or 4th deal, it could be months before you can get your property leased up. To the question of what's changed over the last 12 months, probably the biggest change that we've seen has been in the Carpinteria office sector, where this time last year at this conference, I want to say vacancy for Carpinteria office was at close to 20%. After 12 months' time, based on some new leases that were signed by tenants like Procore, Continental, and then LinkedIn, who merged with Microsoft, Carpinteria office vacancy has shrunk down to very, very low single-digit vacancy. And along with that, there's been a lot more upward pressure on lease rates in Carpinteria as well. So of all the changes we've seen over the last 12 months, that one's definitely been the most pronounced.
This is my 9th year of coming to the Radius Forecast. I feel privileged. It's an amazing amalgamation of knowledge and experience and a finger on the pulse of the market. Another really valuable component is that in this particular forecast, and in past there will be a nationally based speaker, and this year was Mr. Thornburg. He was excellent, and it gave us a perspective of how things are really working on a larger state level, national level, and international level. And it's important to have someone like him parse out the economy so that people can get perspective and they're not getting the chatter of media. It's just, they went straight to the facts and some really valuable perceptions of where things are at.
Look, if you're an investor and you're wondering about the short term, by the way, is great. It's fine. Yes, we're growing a little slower than we might like, but the underlying fundamentals are as strong as they've been in a while. There's no sign of a recession anytime in the near term. Interest rates are going to remain low. Inflation is going to remain contained. It's a good time to be an investor, with the exception of the fact that these assets are a high price because of all this underlying strength. Look, if you're investing in real estate, commercial real estate, you're making an investment not over the next couple of years, you're making an investment for the next 10, 20, perhaps even 30 years. Well, when you look down the road, there are these long-term challenges. Nationally, we have the entitlements, the pension, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Locally, we have issues with the shortage of housing, and of course, rising housing costs. We have issues with water. All these problems are dealable, but the extreme partisanship, the lack of true conversation about issues, and in many ways, the fact that these kind of issues just don't pull well, as the case may be, means not only that we continue to focus on problems in the short term that don't exist, but in many ways we're not having real conversations about finding solutions for these long-term challenges that do exist. For me, that's the most frustrating part, because there are solutions. There's solutions to the housing issue. There's solutions to the waters issue. There's solutions to the entitlement issues. They're not hard to figure out, but we have to start with a basic idea that solutions involve compromise, and compromise involves conversation.